Now, I'm going to start by asking you a question. Did you watch Keely Hodgkinson win her gold medal at the women's 800 metres race last night? We did, and it was really exciting. Absolutely delighted for her. She's only the third woman from Britain to win that 800 metre gold medal, and she absolutely won it with room to spare. So it was very exciting. But did you know that there were another two women from the UK who were racing who didn't make it to the final? And their names were Phoebe Gill and who's the other one? Gemma Reekie. And I'm going to come back to their story because although you sort of think, why is Josephine talking about the Olympics on a live feed about private practice? It is really relevant to you, especially if you're experiencing a slowdown at the moment. But first, let me ask you this question. Have you ever had an experience like mine? This is what happened to me Sunday evening, just as I was about to go to bed. So I was just flipping through, as you do, through Instagram, and it came up with a hashtag. Now, recently, I've been experimenting with different Instagram hashtags, and obviously, Instagram decided to show me some of the things that come up under the typical hashtags that I use. So up popped a post, and guess what? It was absolutely brilliant. And I looked at it and I just thought, oh, goodness, I can't do anything as good as that. It was a bit of a horror show when I looked through the posts in that hashtag because people just seemed to be absolutely amazing at what they were doing. I'm not particularly confident in my Instagram skills. And I had a real sort of heart sink moment. I don't know if you ever get these where it just feels like you've got a stone or a boulder just sitting in your stomach, and you sit there and you just think, oh my goodness, I can't be as good as this. Everyone is going to go with the other person. They're going to like their post much better than mine. I'm not going to get a decent following. I'm not going to be able to make this work. I instantly went into negative comparison. I mean, quicker than you could say Jack Robinson. There I was in my negative comparison. And I'm sure some of you can identify with this because when something like this happens, it makes you start to question yourself. And it's so dispiriting when it seems like everyone else is doing a better job than you. I'd just like to highlight the everyone else there because, you know, that's black and white thinking, isn't it? And I sort of looked at that Instagram post and just thought, well, that just goes to show everyone else can do a better job than me. And of course, it doesn't show that at all. It just shows that one person has done one better post than me. But your old amygdala gets going, doesn't it? And you start catastrophizing about everything. And particularly if you are going through a bit of a lull in your private practice at the moment, if something like that happens, it can really feel really sort of shocking, and you do get that sort of heart sink moment. So if you're currently experiencing a slowdown, I just want to remind you that, you know, I do know how it feels. I have been there myself. And what I'm doing is actually over the next couple of weeks in my podcast in Good Enough Counsellors, I'm talking about coping with the summer slowdown, what can happen at this time of the year. So the thing is it doesn't matter really if you've got a year's experience or less than a year's experience, and this is your first summer where you've experienced a slowdown, or if you've got 10 years experience and you've experienced a slowdown every year. It's still really difficult to hold on to the fact that this is just a seasonal thing, that things will recover and you probably will get more clients come the autumn. It's actually sometimes really difficult to keep the faith that that's going to happen. And the result of that is that you can really end up in this really horrible place of negative comparison, of thinking that, you know, your private practice isn't going to work, of making actually this slowdown mean something and building a narrative around it that perhaps isn't very helpful to you. That, I think, is part of being human. If you're an anxious person, or you do suffer from anxiety, should I say, quite often situations like this can just exacerbate it, and it can mean that you worry, and it can mean that you think you're not good enough. So what can we do about it? That's the next question. I think that the really important thing is to remind yourself of how far you've come. And so, yes, I did have that moment on Instagram when I looked at that and I thought, oh, someone is so much better than me. But I was able to sort of pick myself up quite quickly, because I've had lots of moments like this, so I'm getting practiced at them. But also because, what I was able to say to myself, and I think this is really important, is that I'm still learning how to do this. And yes, this person may be much better than me at doing these sorts of posts. And that's because maybe their natural place to be is Instagram. I don't really think of it as my natural place to be. I don't find it easy. I am still very much learning how to do this. And actually, the difference between thinking, oh, I'm absolute rubbish at this, or saying to yourself, I'm absolutely rubbish at this, but I am learning, is that there's hope involved in that. And I think this is a really helpful place for you to be, for you to think, if at the moment you are struggling with a slowdown, because you are still learning. And if you're still learning, there is room for you to grow. There's room for you to make a difference. There's room for you to change what you're doing. There's room for you to sort of make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. It's not the end of the story. And when you have a fixed mindset, which is where you just tell yourself, well, that's it, I'm rubbish, I can't do it. That is very, it traps you. It traps you into this narrative that you're never going to be able to get out of it. Whereas if you can tell yourself that actually, you're growing and learning, that gives you more options. And this is why I just want to bring in those two athletes that didn't win the 800 meter gold. They weren't even in the final. And there's a couple of young women who I'd like to talk about. The first was a 17-year-old Phoebe Gill. She was just absolutely delighted to be at the Olympics. And she has gone from being like in the juniors to suddenly in the seniors at the Olympics. She's just 17. And she came away, she didn't get through. And she said, you know what? She said, this is just amazing to be here. I'm just learning so much from being around these people, from being around people who have got so much that they can show me. And I'm just learning so much from being with these really experienced runners. So her sort of view was very much like, yeah, I haven't won, but I'm just learning so much. It's okay. And then the other person who was so disappointed with her performance, who really, really felt for her, was Gemma Reekie. And she just didn't run the race that she'd intended to run. And they interviewed her at the end of her race, and you could just see she was so disappointed. She didn't really even want to say very much to the camera, but she did, bless her. And she just sort of said, you know what, I've got to go away, I've got to talk to my coach, and I've got to work out what went wrong. And I think, again, that is just such an example, even in the midst of that disappointment. She was holding on to that growth mindset. I'm not giving up. I'm going back. I'm going to look at it, and I am going to come back stronger. And I really believe she will, as long as she stays well, because a similar thing happened to Keely Hodgkinson. She didn't win in Tokyo, and she's come back stronger, and she won this time. Now, the point is that, we can learn from their growth mindset. Whatever stage you're at the moment in your private practice, you can still learn. You can still grow. Now, I just want to finish the talk with this question, and that is, what do you actually want? Because whatever you want, you're going to get it. And this feels really, really mean. But so often we can give ourselves a narrative that we aren't going to make it. We're going to fail. We're not going to be successful. And when we do that, we then don't look for opportunities. We look for the things that prove that we're a failure and we can't do it. Like me with Instagram. Oh, I could just give up at that point, couldn't I? I could just say, well, that just goes to show I can't do it. There's no point trying. I'm just going to give up. And then that means I'll never learn how to use Instagram. And it can be the same with your private practice. You can say to yourself, you know what, this isn't working. And where are you going to take that? If you believe that it's because you cannot make it work, you're going to prove yourself right. But if you say to yourself, you know what, loads of people have done this. I can learn from them. I don't know what it is that I'm doing wrong at the moment. So I'm going to have a look and see if I can find out. I'm going to carry on working at it. I'm going to keep trying and keep learning. Then you will be in a position where you can be the person who has the successful private practice. It really comes down to, who do you want to believe? Do you want to believe that negative part of yourself, that part of yourself that, has all this history of being told that you're rubbish, you're no good, why are you even trying? Or do you want to believe that part of yourself that is hopeful, that can learn, that can grow? You can do it deep down. You can do it because you have come this far. You've changed. Counselling has made a difference to your life. So you can do it. So I'm going to leave you with that little thought. I hope that's helped. I really hope that you can take your courage in both hands and really work at your private practice. It may not be working at the moment, but that doesn't mean that it's going to fail. Carry on. Keep learning. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.